You know, I'm not personally a believer of episode count meaning much to a story in anime anymore. But 24 episodes is just too short for me to enjoy Princess Tutu. Thank you. August 21st. You made it! An Embraer Leon's 1000 lanced its way to the summer skies, headed south. The plane had been hastily arranged in order to fly several people down southwards towards Los Angeles, which was a good thing, given its current, somewhat sizable passenger manifest. You know, I thought the next time I got aboard a plane, we'd be headed back to Paris, not down south. Sure, admitted in French. Thus, if I had to admit, though my mother and I prefer to fly like normal people, more often than not, we're usually in situations like this. Hey, you live like Diamond Life Shimming. You can afford to get away with it. Sunset responded back in the same language. As part of the preparations for next week, the two agreed to practice in French for Sunset's sake. Well, they both knew that wasn't necessary. Diamond Knife? Who's that? Sarah asked. Sabu Latante at Rarity Falls, Sunset explained. She's mainly famous, or rather infamous, for ending up in the news a month ago for auctioning off her virginity for charity. She dubbed it "Do Me for the Kids." Needless to say, she insulted everyone, including the charity in question, by that stunt, and that's normal for her. And not that bad, Simmer laughed, switching back to English. Besides, technically, after the 29th, you can too. My mother will formally acknowledge you as her missing daughter, and although you'll be adopted by your current family, you'll still be a part of the Bonaparte line. So, if I know my extended family, they're probably already planning to write you under the line as succession simply because of the adoption. Sunset, who already cautioned the girls about talking about the real ties between both and her twin sister, looked oddly at her counterpart. I never really thought about it. I mean, to be honest, until we met, I thought I was just a runaway orphan with an odd mentor. Sunset thought about the memory changes that her grandmother had placed in her mind as her cover story. Miss Faustus had always said that she was an old friend of my parents, and that she was keeping me safe, though I don't know why she raised me in a small cabin in the deepest part of Evergreen. Well, I don't want to bring up bad memories for you, Simmer said, seeing her counterpart was struggling with the constructed memories. Sunset was grateful. The two of them had far more in common than either of them initially thought, and perhaps at a different time they would have actually been actual cherished sisters, rather than just learning how to be that. Still, we're here for you, Sonny. A new voice chimed in. That's what I've been trying to tell her, but she doesn't listen. Hearing the new voice, Sunset turned to the right side of the voice, smelling lavender body wash and lilac shampoo, and only one person she knew used that particular combination. Hey, sis, Sunset said to her sister, Twilight Sparkle. Bored of talking with the others? Twilight plopped into the seat next to her. Maybe I'm just jealous that my sister's being stolen by her twin, she said with a grin. Cyril laughed. Oh, Twilight, you have nothing to fear. I am so damn confused right now, I don't even have a clue about what I would do with your twin sister running around. Trust me, when this is all over and I head back to France, you can have her back. Thanks, besides, Twilight said, leaning to her sister's shoulder. I'd only be fair to warn you of the hazard you've wrought, sister mine. Looking at Sunset, he said, I tried to rein her in, for your sake, but Shimmy talked me out of that. Sarah gave her doppelganger a sympathetic look of herself. Sorry about that, but sacrifices must be made for the happiness of others. Sunset chuckled. Look, Piggy's not going to do anything, okay? She knows how I feel, and that's not going to change, so don't worry about it, Twilight. In her seat, Piggy looked over a few things. So, Octavia facepalm. Piggy, please tell me you didn't. Piggy plus, darling, we're friends, right? Yes. And before you ask, Sunny is my cousin, but she's practically like a sister. Piggy then held out two packages. So, does she prefer cheesecake or pineapple? Piggy, well, asking me which flavor of edible underwear my cousin would prefer. Too soon, Piggy asked. Octavia was about to speak when a new voice popped up. I have some banana split flavored ones, if you want to try that. Said Speaker immediately felt her shoulder light up with pain. Ow! Lyra! Bonbon gasped. Can we not talk about our personal lives? But Bonnie, Lyra whined. The parrot came along as Sonata's +2 for the trip. Was it spiraled out of control naturally? Well, Sonata had explained a few things over the phone to the Choco Twins' manager, and somehow the news about how Sonata was the cousin of the missing French princess that was now starting to make the news, said manager had shrewdly managed to pay for everyone. Not just Sonata's official guests, hoping to get into the Zeitgeist train. So with that in mind, Sonata turned the whole thing into a huge bring the entourage affair. But between Blossom Force being in the last stages of her pregnancy and Trixie, Minuet, and others simply too busy, Lyra and Bonbon were the only ones who accepted the offer. I just realized, after 10 years of doing this, we finally got a trip to Disney World. Ha! Look, what we do is our business, not whatever Pinky's got planned for sunset, okay? Bonbon scolded her. Look, it's weird enough that finding out one of our friends is a long-lost French princess. Yeah, how does that work anyway, Tavi? Lyra asked. Look, Sunny and her biological mother are still figuring that out, Octavia said hesitantly. Personally, given that Mr. Steve Lestia says he's not going to contest the adoption, I don't think Sunny's going to be a princess. Well, that sucks, doesn't it? Lyra muttered. So! Piggy chirped, barging back into the conversation. You know why I wanted to talk to you, right? Because we're the only 2 lesbians you're friends with? Lyra asked and Bonbon facepalm. Sorry? Bonbon bit off the Affinity's curse and looked at Pinky. Pinky, forgive me for saying this, but are you sure about this? You said Sunny's straight, right? I don't want to see you get hurt over this. I won't really, says the girl who wants to have edible undies, Octavia retorted. Look, if you want me to keep the banana split, we gotta have our flavors, right? Lyra reached over and grabbed her backpack. Let's see. Rainbow sherbet, watermelon. You have them in your backpack! Bonbon screamed. Well, yeah, I didn't want TSA to go through our luggage. Octavia was about to speak up before Lyra added. And yes, this was before I realized you don't scare on luggage on charter flights, and they won't scan my carry-on. Octavia shook her head. You've been dating her for how long before you realized she was an idiot? Bonbon giggled. I'll be glad Trixie couldn't make it. You'd be hearing a life story of stupidity for hours. Arya tapped Fluttershy on the shoulder. What are you listening to? Fluttershy removed her headphones. All in tears by this moral coil. Somehow it seemed appropriate. I don't think this is going to go over well. I don't know. I think it's wonderful that Sunset and Pinky have found one another, Rarity said, looking away from her book. Rares, is that? Sonata asked. Trapped in an Elevator, Rarity said. One of my favorite books. 2 girls meet and they get trapped in an elevator in a building, and during that time they... Hey! The fashionista screamed as Adagio ripped it out of her hands. The siren took a look at the cover. It was depicted a curly-haired redhead making out with another girl. The latter with a feathered hair gold and pink. Not surprisingly, the 2 was somewhat familiar. Ouroboros? Rarity blushed as he took the book back. Yes, he's one of my favorite authors, why? Adagio headed it back with disdain. Really? These look like complete trash, Rares. Well, that's your opinion. I happen to think differently, Rarity huffed. Your choice. Anyway, Flutters has a point, Adagio interjected. How so? Applejack. I've been silent all this time, ask. Come on, is it obvious? If Sunny and Pinky start swapping spit, what's the dynamic for our group gonna be like? Rainbow asked. I'll be more concerned with Pinky's feelings, Rainbow, Applejack replied. We know Sunny's straight, but Pinky's falling for her hard. You know Pinky's had a fucked up life, especially what happened after her. Sisters? Adagio said, looking at Sonata and Arya with steadfast determination. We find the 2 that hurt her, and we take them out. Agreed? The other 2 therapists nodded as one. You know, Evening Sonata, if you had the sirens acting more like this, I think I would have liked you more. Dacia, I cannot believe you're talking casually about murdering two people, Rarity gasped. Here's technically we're state sanctioned by request of your fine Sonny, so it'd be assassination, not murder. Sonal pointed out, as if that's any better. Would you all shut up? They all turned to see Raspberry, looking green in the gills and holding out for her armrest for dear life. I'm trying not to think of all the ways we could die horribly, and you're all talking about that! That's a bad idea, Rarity said. He must be fine. After all, I was. The team found her mouth covered by flares of all people. I already heard Rarity's story at the time she had been in a minor plane crash as a baby. This might not be the best time to mention that, the chiffon-haired girl noted. We would very much prefer you not to mention that, the triplets intoned darkly. I'm gonna be sick, Raspberry moaned. 30 minutes later, Raspberry all but collapsed in relief on the tarmac at Santa Ana Airport in Orange County. Harris tried to shield the former unicorn from view, trying not to laugh. Fortunately, as opposed to last time, it was much easier. This is uncomfortably familiar, Sunset sighed. Sorry, sis, Twilight said, squeezing her sister's hand in support. Sonata bent down to help Raspberry up. You okay? Yeah, just glad Healy's not here to see this. A thought crossed her mind. Sure he's gonna be okay? I really don't like leaving him behind. The boy-haired girl smiled. Don't worry, Spike will make sure he's okay. A flicker of green flame sizzled through the air, and the young boy dived behind the safety of the couch. Stupid bird! He spat. The green canary chirped a fast series of warble sounds that sounded oddly like giving profanity. Spike, is everything okay? Keynes came out of the kitchen, looking at him. And once Heliodor soared over the woman and sat on her shoulder, nuzzling her cheek. Aw, aren't you the most adorable thing? Keynes said, gently rubbing Heliodor on the head with a finger. Are you hungry? Heliodor sang a cheerful chirp. Come on, we got some fruit in the kitchen, she said, leading the pleased bird into the kitchen. Spike poked his head out from behind the sofa. Hate you so much, he muttered. Well, I guess I shouldn't be surprised to see you at all. They turned to see a familiar person walking towards them. Rainbow hugged melancholy Rose. Hey, Rose, long time no see. Yeah, when the twins found out about the change, they brought my band on as a producer. And when I saw Sonata's name, I knew I had to get involved. She looked nervously at Dacio. Water under the bridge? So long as you don't do anything stupid, Rose, we're cool. Dacio commented coolly. Besides, I'm more inclined to dent Morwan's head over there, she said, pointing her thumb to Raspberry. Hate this place so much, Raspberry muttered under her breath. And Arya patted her friend's shoulder in consolation. Well, if you come this way, Rose told him, we'll grab your bags and head towards the limos. Limos? Rainbow asked. Rainbow, we're family. Of course, limos, Rose said with a wink. Besides, one of you is the contest winner, so we're obliged in any case. Oh yeah! Rainbow cheered. We're living a good life. After a quick trip through the baggage area, the three were then whisked off into their limos. A few people there had popped pictures of the group of teenagers coming out, and Sunset swore she saw one or two paparazzos he was familiar with. They all clambered into the limos and sped off. Well, this is something I'm not used to, Bonbon moaned. Believe it or not, me neither, Shimmer replied. My mother and I tried to live normal lives when we were back home, so we tried to avoid the pageantry of the family whenever possible. Besides, right now, we're here to have fun, so let's just enjoy the ride. Oh, believe me, I'm going to enjoy plenty of rides, Lyra commented. And Bonbon glared at her. Lyra realized what she had said, quickly admitted, I meant the rides to the park, sweetie. I hope you mean that, Bonbon huffed. Lyra pouted, and Bonbon leaned forward, kissed her on the cheek, forgiving her faux pas. Writing off as simply Lyra being Lyra. Well, I do hope you two pop out of your room once in a while, Applejack teased. Hey, can't have room service forever, right? Lyra said, leaning against her girlfriend. No kidding. Bonbon spoke, before turning to look back at the older of the twins in the room. Sonny, do you have a plan of how you're going to deal with this? I'm going to guess you're doing this for Pinky's benefit and not your own. You'd be right, Sunset replied. I love Pinky dearly, but just as a friend. I have no more romantic interest in her than I do you, Lyra, or the others. She sighed. In fact, given how bad my last relationship went, I'm off the dating train for a while. Then why bother at all? Lyra asked her. Octavia, sitting next to Sunset, really gave her cousin a look, and Sunset knew what she would have said if they had been in private. It was a tacit reminder that Sunset was treading on a very thin, pinky-shaped ice. Sunset sighed, after all. Just about everyone present was already having these concerns. Why should her family be any different? Well, to be honest, this is Pinky's call, Sunset told him. She's taking me on a date, not the other way around. Maybe she'll ask for suggestions, but aside from that, I don't really think so. But I think you're worrying a little too much. This is just a fun time for me and Pinky. Should you tell her? Lyra asked, looking at Bon Bon with a seriousness that was uncommon for the tomboy. Bon Bon nodded, took a drink of the soda she had taken from the limo's mini fridge. Sonny. No, Pinky, I'm putting my foot down on this, Twilight told her. Twilight, you're my dearest friend, but frankly, this is none of your business, Pinky said coolly. I know your sister, and I'm not going to do anything to harm her. You know that. Suga, Elzak told her, we've all been outsourced lately. Let's just be honest about that, okay? I know I feel like I'm still trying to catch up to my own life. In her own words, the rest of the group recalled for that moment. The atmosphere of the room sent an icy chill. I know how that feels, Twilight said with a bit of shame. I recall how I acted and then having my sister die in my arms. Pinky went over and hugged Twilight. I don't know how you missed that, the conning-haired girl admitted in a soft tone. I just remember I wanted to tell you that day. Her words sent a chill through the occupants of the cabin. When you said she was gone, I knew my life was over and I had nothing to live for. Pinky, don't you say that, Rainbow told her. Don't you ever say that. You're too important to us for that to happen. Twilight looked Pinky directly in the eyes. Pinky, no one is worth losing your life, not even my sister. Pinky shook her head as tears formed in her eyes and her hair started to stream. You were ready to murder that man because of what happened to Sunny. You lost it, Twilight, and I know how you felt. I was practically destroyed. Part of me was to that moment he slipped me into a sad shimmy. Ladies, Arya interrupted, this is getting way too maudlin. We won, right? Are we supposed to be celebrating happier times? Furthermore, thanks to Sunny's grandmother messing with time, we never had to go through that. So, nobody died and we're all fighting alive, Sonata added. You're right. Pinky's hair recoiled back into shape, like a slinking on amphetamines. I'm gonna lose again, and I'm gonna be happy, Pinky. Sonata giggled. Then let's make this a day for the ages, Pinky. Twilight glared at her cousin, but Sonata ignored it. Raspberry vanilla bottle and chocolate cars. She said with a wide grin that seemed unnatural even for Pinky. Quit going, Arya told her sister, immediately facepalm. Pinky, how do you know about this? I thought you'd ask. I was going to be the one to train to be a seduction expert, so I know a little bit about how do you know? Oh, believe me, when I put my mind to it, I can research anything. And when such a hot body at stake, you better believe I'm trying to find out everything this girl needs. Thought that crossed her mind. What's a seduction specialist? Adasia sighed in relief. Believe me, I am glad for the timeline change. What the seduction specialist is 2 years of learning the sexual arts. Basically, working for a year in one of the whorehouses in Nevada. The sisterhood has a connection there. Followed by another year of attending orgies and pretty much seducing anything that moves to learn the skills of the trade. But you're still right, aren't you? Rarity was silent all this time, asked. Nadia nodded, entirely glad Rarity pointed it out, as a line. That resolved Rarity to turn back to Pinky. Pinky dear, would you be a dear do something for me? Of course, Pinky replied. Let's just start Sunny. In this case, no, I'll do her for myself. That is the thought, Fascinatus replied. But to be honest, so say you, Pinky. As much as I enjoyed writing romance novels, what are you doing? There's no romance in it. It's, well, vulgar. As a virgin, Don't you want your time with Sunset to be special? What are you doing? Twilight hissed in Fred's ear. Trust me, darling, Eddie said back before turning her attention back to Pinky. Manny, I'm not a virgin. If anything, I'm probably the exact opposite of a virgin. The look in Pinky's eyes seemed normal. Rarity, having been there all this time, knew the fragility behind it. Yes, you are, Rarity said, giving Pinky her warmest smile. You didn't offer those brutes your maidenhood, Pinky. They took it, and offering your virginity to the one you love most is the truest thing of all. But no. They took your body. They played with your mind. But you know where your heart belongs. And your heart of hearts, that's what you want to give Sunset, correct? Yes, all my heart forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. We get your point, Arya chimed in. Arya, darling, please, Rarity said, piping that down. So, Pinky dear, you want Sunset with all your heart and soul? Of course! You go together like peanut butter and chocolate, like red velvet cake and fudge filling, like the silvery moon and the stars that flicker in June. 7 days in June, eh? I see, Rarity replied. Then, why are you trying to drive her away? The moment Rarity said that, one could practically hear the record scratch in the air. I don't understand, Pinky replied genuinely. Rarity, may I? Does you ask? The floor is yours, dear. Pinky, I know you've told me what you've been through. Words cannot express how much I wish I could fix that for you. But the truth is, you were set up. Atlas and Cecily probably targeted you from the start. Everything they did was calculated to hurt you in little ways. And none of that is your fault. So Rarity's right. Within your heart, you are still pure, regardless of whatever happened. But you're not the only one that's been hurt. Think about it. Flash was part of that group. And Flash was Sunny's boyfriend. Yes, he had alternative motives as well. But what she's told us, it didn't sound like a loving relationship. Remember, she hated being called Sunny for the longest time because of Flash's little poem. I gotta hurt him for that, Pinky suddenly growled. The point I'm making is that you two were abused in one degree or another. You really shouldn't think about sex right now, because it's been part of your scars, for both of you. If you really want to win my cousin's heart, then you need to do it by showing that you love her. Not that you want to jump her bones, because between what you've been through, one way or another, it'll end in tears. Well, Tassie, that was surprisingly insightful, Twilight told her. And you know me for how many years? Adazio asked her cousin. What's timeline? Sanaa added. Adazio and Sunset looked at each other, remembering both past meal funds of a life lived. At the same time, half their lives. Both nodded slightly turned to Sonata. Take your pick, they both replied at the same time. Not long after, the group walked through the lobby of the Disneyland Grand California Hotel and Spa. I would like to let you folks know that this video has not been sponsored by Disney. The process of the 3 hotels at the resort. I've been exposed to luxury several times. Most of those present were no longer wowed by the opulence. 2 girls, however, were not so jaded. This is amazing, Lark said, her eyes like that of a child handing the keys to the Hershey and candy warehouses. Honestly, I'm overwhelmed, Bonbon admitted. You should see Spring Break. Me and my friends all rented the penthouses in Monaco for that week. We just laid around the beach, Simmer told him. Trust me, I spend a lot more during vacation. Monaco? Rarity exclaimed starry-eyed. Can I come live with you forever? She squealed. Easy, Warriors, Applejack said, pulling her back. Let's not get too hasty, okay? What? Rod suggested, maybe you should check into our hotel rooms and then go get some food. Then after, I'll take you to meet the Chocolate Twins. Melody normally would just be Sunny and her 2 guests. But given you all came, I think we can make an exception. Where are they now? Sanaa asked excitedly. Oh, they should be alright. Maybe in so about an hour. Though, as I understand it, they are filming a segment of their show in Hawaii, so they'll be landing soon. Worst case scenario, you get to meet them tomorrow. So I think you'll get the chance to do so tonight. Ying! The other girls agreed, decided to split up according to the room assignments. With alone access to Lyra and Bonbon, the rooms came equipped with double beds and all the amenities possible. Additionally, the rooming assignments had been given out, much to Pinky's disappointment, since it would be bunking with Simmer, while the cheerleader got tied up with Raspberry. One by one, they departed towards their rooms, with the agreement to meet back in 30 minutes. The elf filtered out, even was Raspberry, with all the clothing she was wondering why the hell she now owned she was never going to use any of it once he returned to Equestria, until all that was left was Sunset and Pinky. Both knew why they remained behind. Pinky picked up her bag. Sonny, are you sure you really want to go through this? Pinky asked. I don't want you to do anything you don't feel comfortable with. Sunset gave Pinky a soft smile. What happened to the girl who was eager to take me out? I got remembered why I'm such a screw up, Pinky said mournfully. In response, and not sure what she did, the flame-haired girl walked over and gave Pinky a kiss on the cheek. I know you better than that, Pinky. I wouldn't do anything I didn't want to. So, you're going to sweep me off my feet, as you clearly want to do, and we're going to have a talk about that. Pinky felt the warmth of Sunset's lips against her burnt skin, and flushed furiously. Okay, I'm your Pinky, she chirped. Oh, my Pinky, not anyone else's Pinky? Well, my aunt and uncle had a long-term lease until I'm 18, and my parents have some ostensible legal claim on my jeans. But I was, yeah. So you never saw her picked up Sunset's bag as well. Surely you know that, she insisted. Spoiling me already. A girl could get used to this, Sunset said lightly, moving forward towards the elevator. Pinky stood still for a second, watching her friend's trusty mood. Oh, trust me, a girl could get used to a lot of things. She complimented as she joined Sunset towards the elevators. Watching from a distance, Lara looked at her lover. Thoughts? Tomorrow's gonna be very interesting, and not in that very good way, Bonbon sighed. You think so too, huh? Lara stared, and Bonbon couldn't help but agree. I hope Sunny knows what she's doing, or else this could be a very bad thing. Lara leaned up against her girl. Let's get up to our rooms. We might have enough time to get a quickie in before we have to come back down. Is sex all you think about? The tomboy grinned as he put an arm around the other girl. With your body, I wouldn't want to think about anything else, babe. Bonbon merely kissed her, took her hand and walked towards the other side of the elevators, in their own room. Nice. 30 minutes later, while Sonata was excitedly dancing around the room, Rose came by and gave her the bad news. Sonny, the twins' flight got cancelled due to weather. As a result, he won't be able to meet you until tomorrow afternoon. But I made reservations for us to have nuts at Club 33, so we'll all have the privacy you'll need. Plus, they agreed to stick around an extra day, because they do want to meet you. Is everything okay? Sonata asked, slightly down. Things like this happen all the time, Cerberus, Rose explained. The life of celebrity isn't all glitz and glamour, despite what people think. I know. Flashlight tells me her father had a hard time just walking around town because of who she is, Sonata admitted. Well, I'm sure you want time to relax and all, so just take it easy this evening. Tomorrow will be a busy day for you, okay? Sonata comically slid. Roger that! As Rose departed, Arya noted the sad look on her sister's face. You okay, Sonny? Yeah, I'm just kind of nervous meeting them, you know. Well, do you remember the letter they read in the air when we were kids? Sis, I didn't remember that letter till you mentioned it just now. I remember, Sonata said softly. It broke my heart. It broke all of our hearts. We went to bed early, and Twilight and Taffy ended up sleeping with us that night to make sure we'd be okay. She sighed. I know they weren't to blame, she admitted, but I hope they don't think that I hate them for it. Arya went over and hugged her sister. Sonny, you've always had a big heart. I'm sure that everything will be okay. So you don't have to be nervous, alright? At the end of the day, they're just normal girls like you and I. Sonata asked. We're hardly normal girls, sis. True, but I like to keep thinking we are. So here we are again, sis. Twice as the two sat outside in the cool, late summer evening. There was no one by the pool, until neither of them had any plans to swim. The two just sat together on the terrace outside, having a private moment between themselves. Just outside together. I'm ashamed of how I acted, Twilight suddenly admitted. I didn't trust you, and as a result, you paid the price. It was partly my fault as well, Twilight. Sunset minded. I was afraid to tell you about, well, me. I should have been honest with my family, but I wasn't. You had good reason, in either reality. In the old one, I wasn't ready to believe you weren't human. In this new one, I didn't know you were a twin, and I abandoned you. You suffered because of it. Because of me. Twilight, you didn't abandon me in this time. Doesn't matter. Sunset looked at her sister, and Twilight was in tears. You're my sister. I gave you a lecture about trust, and I wasn't the one that trusted you. You died, Sonny. I was responsible for your death. How can you even forgive me? Sunset walked over and hugged her. Because you're my sister, Twilight, and I love you. We're a family. I was ready to die when I dived into traffic if it meant you lived. I was ready to die when I went back home to find out what was harming you. And I obviously did when our family was at stake. And I do it again even now because you're my sister. Mom, Dad, Spike, Shiny, everyone, I would do it without a second thought. Because I love you and all. The two sisters sat there hugging one another, glad to share this moment. Finally, the two broke off and Twilight asked, So, what's it like not being human? I could ask you what's like not being a pony, Twilight. The answer you probably give me is the same one I give you. I don't really know, it's just, well, it is. Yes, having been both, there are pluses and minuses. The monthly inconvenience is much more preferable, in my opinion, than going to heat once a year. Twilight looked at Sunset oddly and laughed. We have magic that takes care of that. And believe me, it's not like it's a porno or a city or anything. It's just a heightened awareness that you really want to get your groove on, so to speak. Did you ever, No. For one, I was never social enough to have any interest in cults. Second, even if I was the daughter of the princess. And I couldn't debase myself that way. So, one of the first spells I learned was the instilling spell. Instilling? Yeah. Basically, it fools your body into thinking you're an immature filly, not ready to romp in the meadow. Think of it as the sort of equivalent of a week-long cold shower, you get the idea. Sunset laughed. When I became human and found that humans don't have an estral cycle, or only had to deal with the menstrual, I felt like I was free. Of course, this was before I hooked up with Flash and simply did not realize I could have ended up, well, like Blossom. Do you regret that? Yes and no. I regret that Flash ruined her life. And I wish I had known about it, though knowing Flash, I don't know if I could have stopped that bastard. But I don't regret I was able to save you from him. And I'm there to help Blossom now she needs me. And I'm thankful I never got pregnant by him. I would have been utterly ruined if I had. I'm glad you didn't either, Twilight told her. Although, well, if you had, I guess I wouldn't have had the chance to get to meet and love a wonderful sister. As a result, I wouldn't have had the life I do now. It would have been just me and Tavi alone in our isolated world, rather than the new one we've been given where I have a larger family and a ton of friends. I have you to thank. Twilight leaned against her sister and smiled softly in contentment. After a few minutes, he said, Piggy said he saw other realities with you. Aside from the fact it boggles my mind there are other realities, what did you guys see? Sunset groaned. Ugh. I told her not to talk about that. Look, sis, you're smart enough to know that in the abstract they do exist. My fairy existence notwithstanding, but yes, there are plenty of them, and I'd rather not discuss them. Like the ones where here two are a couple? There are ones where we're a couple, Twilight. Twilight looked at her sister with a disbelieving gaze. What? You heard me. But I would never. Says it couldn't help but tease her sister. Apparently, some you did. How can you take this so calmly? One, because those aren't that reality. You're my sister, not my lover. Two, I don't feel that way about you, or any of my friends, and frankly, anyone right now. It's certainly not about members of my family. And third, I've already seen you naked, Twilight. It's not like just a grand mystery. Twilight's eyes narrowed. You are so lucky you're officially getting adopted next week, or else I kill you. Again. Then Sunset laughed. And after a second of pouting, Twilight then joined in, glad to be with this wonderful girl she was lucky enough to call a sister. Watching them from a distance, Pinkie felt a mixture of emotions. Jealousy and the closeness between the two sisters. Seeing as she did, and innate as he should have been the one spending the beautiful moon-drenched night with Sunset, instead of Twilight. It wasn't fair to either of them, she knew, but the heart never really bothered to ward away such feelings. Discussing her own feelings and concerned about how she was going to make it out to Sunset, Pinkie walked back to the hotel. She had a long, lonely night to think about it.